Hi, this is Vincent Mantia coming to you from the Staten Island Conservatory of Music, which is located at Snug Harbor, the Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanic Gardens. And today I'd like to talk to you just a little bit about choosing bows. And I have here a very nice bow, silver-mounted Pernambuco bow, which I bought a very long time ago, made by a German maker, Alphonse Riedel, or Riedel. I don't speak German, so I don't know a proper pronunciation. So I'd like to talk to you about a few of the properties of bows when you choose a bow. If you're a beginner, your teacher should help you choose a bow, because a teacher, a professional, will have a much more sensitive touch to the different properties of a good bow, of a very fine bow. So what do we look for in a bow? First of all, you don't want a very cheap bow, because for one thing, the hair at each end is clumped together, is drawn together by melted rosin and some silk wrapping. And there's a chamber in the head where that goes, and the hair goes in there, the end of the hair. And there's a chamber in the frog also. And there are wedges to flatten the hair at the frog. And there's a wedge, a carefully made wedge in the head as well. And those are carved by an expert bow craftsman, bow maker, luthier, architier, and they're not glued in. They're made expertly, so just by the forces involved and the shape of the wedge done by an expert, it stays in there, it doesn't pop out. A lot of cheap bows are made where they actually will glue the wedge in, because you don't have an expert rehairing it or making the bow necessarily. And that's not a good thing, because it means if you take your bow to a good shop to rehair it one day, they won't like it when they have to recreate the bow by digging out this glued wedge, especially in the tip, and carving you an all new tip, and it'll cost a lot more than if they could use the old wedge and it was done properly, so it just would fit in there. It was the correct shape and it won't pop out. It doesn't have to be glued. All right, so that's one of the things. This is a nice silver-mounted bow by Alphonse Riedel. And one of the things that you'll see in bows is, in the silver parts, you can see pins. And I don't know if you can see that very well, get a close-up, but there's a pin there on the heel. And there are pins on the segments of the screw as well in the silver to keep them attached to the ebony core. That there's three parts on that screw, and underneath the frog, where the frog meets the stick, you can see there's silver underslide. There's a that protects the wood and the ebony from wearing. And there are usually either pins, like the pin at the heel there, or in some styles of bow they use screws. And you want to look for that. Sometimes the pins are almost invisible, because a good bow maker will file it down to make it just really perfect. So you might have to really look to see that pin if it's not a screw. So okay, those are a couple of things. Now then, balance. I prefer, and a lot of fine musicians, cellists, and violinists prefer a well-balanced bow, which is balanced closer to, the balance point of the bow is closer to the hand and the bow maker does this with all the parts. And that way, your pinky, which controls the tip, and your first finger, your first finger controls downward pressure and articulation on the bow, and the pinky, you have kind of a lever there. And so the pinky, if your bow is tip heavy, then you're going to feel it in the pinky in this part of the hand. And that's the weakest finger. You don't really want to tax it. So you don't want a bow that's too heavy at the tip. And so the balance point closer to the hand, where you feel the balance, it makes the tip feel lightish. That's a better balance point. And if you go to a shop, Linda West online, you'll see she gives balance points, how close they are to the frog, to the end of the bow, close they are to the hand. And that's a very good thing if you're looking for bows. You can check out her site. She has a lot of beautiful cello bows for sale. So that's another thing. There are different woods that bows are made out of. Most people prefer Pernambuco, which is the highest grade of Brazil wood and is endangered. And good Pernambuco is hard to come by because it's endangered wood. There's also Brazil wood, which is a lower grade for a lot of common workshop bows. And there's another wood called Ipe, which is another type of Brazil wood that's used, which can make some very fine bows. And then there's, of course, carbon fiber and fiberglass, which, in my opinion, don't get the kind of warmth that you get out of a fine Pernambuco bow. And now some of the things a bow has to have is strength throughout each part of the bow, from the frog to the tip. You don't want a bow that has a weak spine through any part of the bow, where it supports your playing always with strength and a certain amount of flexibility. And some of you may know or may not know that the wood is tested, even the blanks, with a device called a Lucimeter, invented by an Italian fine bow maker. The Lucimeter is what a lot of bow makers use to test the wood. I believe they shoot microwaves through the wood to test for the contrast of strength and flexibility. So now, we normally think of the bow in terms of withstanding pressure, downward pressure on the stick. And you want a bow that's strong, that can withstand that downward pressure. But you also want something else I want to bring your attention to, which a lot of people may not think about, is lateral pressure. Since the angle of the cello string, we usually turn the bow towards the string, to get it parallel with the ground, right? Get a parallel force, the proper force. So you should also look for a bow that has lateral strength, not just vertical strength, pushing down, but also strength on this side, the side toward you, which has to resist the bow giving in and touching the string and getting a nasty sound when you put pressure. When I want a nice forte. I don't want that stick to be soft and fall down on the string and hit the metal string. You get a nasty sound. So one thing I think a lot of people maybe don't even think about is lateral strength. Not on the outer side, but on the side, on our side, on the side toward me, which leans toward the string. On the violin, it's the opposite. It's because the violin bow is tilted away from us a bit. The instrument is actually turned around, so the angle of the string is different, and the stick is tilted toward the scroll, which is out here. So their lateral strength in the bow should be on the outer side for a violin, but for the cello, it's on the inside, on the side facing the string, facing us. So so the bow may actually be softer on the other side, but we don't need it. Doesn't matter. We need vertical, and we need it on this side, the side facing the player. Whereas the violin, it's just the opposite. They don't need strength on this side facing us, facing at you. They need it on the outer side. And bow makers, I think many bow makers, great bow makers, they know this. And when they test the wood and they use the Lucci meter and so on, and they have their own ways from experience and study and making a lot of bows. They know how to balance the bow, and they know where the strengths in the bow is and whether it's strong throughout the length. You'll see some bows, I think a lot of hill bows, and often makers will use a metal tip. And the bow might be great, it just might be lighter. They might want to balance it by putting a little more weight at the tip. And that's just another way of balancing the parts of the bow to get the right balance, which, as I say, I feel should be closer to the hand, so the tip, you can manipulate the tip lightly, and it's not taxing on that weaker finger, that pinky. So these are some things that I like to leave you with, and for us choosing a bow, professionals know a lot of these things, and but if you're a beginner and you want to have your teacher help you pick out a bow, because your teacher will know more. And of course, different bows, different wood reacts differently, gets a different sound with different instruments, and depending on your technique, whether you use more or less pressure or more or less speed, that will also determine the kind of bow you're looking for, and the bow's strengths, and so on and so forth. Okay, and I hope this is giving you some things to think about in choosing bows, and help you choose a bow, or help your other people, professionals, choose bows. And I think you should always get the best bow you can afford, because that will bring out the best sound. The bow is a tool. It's a tool, just like the instrument is a tool. It's an instrument, this bow, and you're using it to make the variety of sounds, you want. This Riedel bow I have, by the way, it's a bow I really love. It doesn't get as warm a sound as I like, but it's very strong, and it's got a good amount of flexibility, and it's very articulate. So this is a nice bow for orchestra, articulate playing, good rhythmic articulation, phrasing, It's not, again, it's not as warm as I'd like. I have other bows for that, but it's a really good, fine working bow. Gives me pretty good, great sound on pretty much any instrument I play on with it, and it does everything I want for orchestral playing, even for solo playing, and that's one thing I look for in a bow is warmth, strength, and a variety of the sounds that I want to be able to create. Okay, well, I hope this helps you in if you're, thinking about bows, getting bows, buying a new bow, or upgrading the bow you have. If you have any questions, you're welcome to make comments, and I hope you'll like and subscribe to my little cello workshop channel. Vincent Mantia signing off.